Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to get rid of rust from your car's body and make it look brand new. In this video, I'll be removing the rust from this wheel arch here of this Nissan Altima and go from this to this. So let's not waste any time and let's get started. We'll start by removing all the rust on this wheel arch using a wire brush and several other tools. So put your wire brush on your grill and start working your way. You'll want to get the surface as clean as possible. And yes, I even used a bell sander to help me along the way. Now remember, you don't need all these power tools to actually get this job done. You can easily take some 40 grit sandpaper and clean the entire surface. It'll just take a very long time. Once all the rust is removed, I'm going to take some rocker guard, which is essentially a rubber compound that is sprayable. I'm going to spray that into all the areas where there was rust before. And essentially I'm doing this so that moisture cannot get back into these areas and cause the metal to rust further. So spray this liberally into all the crevices and areas where there was rust. Next, I'm going to take some Bodywork Mesh, which I've cut up into small pieces, to give these rust holes some strength before filling it up with Bondo. So this Bodywork Mesh from 3M actually comes with a sticky back surface, which allows the mesh to stay in place once it's been installed. So I'm going to actually go ahead and put these pieces of mesh behind each of these holes, starting with this one. You will have to push it in place so that it actually adheres to the back of the body. Now it's time to apply some Bondo Glass. What you will need is your cream hardener, a putty knife, and a stir stick. Apply some Bondo Glass onto a non-absorbent surface such as this plastic sheet, and then put just a little tiny drop of cream hardener on the Bondo Glass and mix it all up together. You will have to mix this up until you see one color. Now apply the Bondo Glass to all the cleaned up rust holes. The metal mesh along with this fiberglass compound will give the body some real strength. Apply as much as you can to fill all the holes. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, as we'll be sanding this and then applying some premium body filler after. You will have to work quickly as you only have about 2 to 3 minutes of work time, after which the Bondo Glass will start to harden. After 30 minutes, the Bondo Glass is ready to be sanded. To sand, I'm going to be using 40 grit sandpaper around a flexible rubber block. You will have to sand this until the body filler is level with the rest of the wheel arch.
Hey.
Next, it's time to apply the Bondo body filler. You will need to mix the body filler with the cream hardener exactly how you did it with the Bondo Glass. Mix until you have an even colored paste. Apply a smooth even coat of the body filler to the damaged portions of the wheel arch until the damaged area is the same level as the rest of the body. You can use the flat edge of the putty knife to help with this. Make sure you cover all the spots where there was rust. You may want to apply the filler in different directions so you're able to target all the depressions. Once the filler is dry, it's time to sand. Use a flexible rubber block with 40 grit sandpaper to sand down any high points on the filler. You can use the flexible rubber block to match the contours of the metal while you're sanding. to mimic your car's original contours. Once you achieve the body shape you require, next sand with 220 grit sandpaper to get rid of any large scratches and to get a smooth surface that is ready for painting. Once the surface is completely smooth, it's time to apply filler primer. Filler primer will fill up any small scratches and imperfections and will also highlight any imperfections that we may have missed. So start spraying the filler primer after nicely shaking the can. You'll need to spray in smooth light coats to avoid drips. After waiting for 30 minutes for the primer to dry, you will now see a lot more of the imperfections in the filler. You will use spot and glazing putty from Bondo to fill these up. Apply a very thin coat of putty to the imperfections. The spot putty will dry in about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, use 220 grit sandpaper to sand down the surface, ensuring a nice and smooth finish. There should not be any high spots, and the spot putty will need to be feathered into the rest of the surface. Next, clean the surface with rubbing alcohol. Once the rubbing alcohol dries, it's now time to apply the filler primer once again. So apply a smooth coat of filler primer onto the surface, again making sure that there are no drips. Once the primer dries, it's now time to clean the surface with rubbing alcohol. With the surface dry, it's now time to apply the base coat. Spray the base coat in smooth, even strokes, ensuring that you're only applying a thin coat with each spray. You want to keep moving, and you do not want to get too much paint on the surface as it will start to run. Once the base coat dries in about 30 minutes, it's now time to apply a second coat of base coat. Again, do the same thing you did before, ensuring that there are no drips. The next step is applying the clear coat. In this video, I only filmed the first application of clear coat. Spray the clear coat again in smooth, even strokes, constantly moving as to avoid any drips. Repeat this step another 2 times while waiting about 15 minutes between coats. After about 2 days of drying in the sun, it already starts to look really good. Next, what we're going to do is actually bring that shine back. Soak your 1000 grit sandpaper and 2000 grit sandpaper in some soapy water. We'll need to soak it for about 15 minutes. Next, we'll take our 1000 grit sandpaper that we soaked in soapy water and we'll start wet sanding the surface. Wet sanding is done to remove any orange peel or drips without burning the newly painted surface. You'll have to ensure that the surface is wet at all times while doing this. Repeat wet sanding with 2000 grit sandpaper to remove any scratches created by the 1000 grit sandpaper. You'll then want to wash the surface and let it dry. Next, we'll buff the surface with Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. Apply the compound to a clean buffing pad and set the buffer to the low setting. Start buffing the surface with overlapping strokes to ensure a smooth polishing. You'll need to ensure to keep buffing the surface until the buffing compound is no longer visible. This is when you will start to see the shine appear on the paint. Next, we want to take your buffer and put a foam polishing pad on. Start polishing the surface to get rid of any extra buffing compound that may be still sticking to the surface. You should now start seeing the shine. And that's it, you're done. There you go, a high gloss finish. You're all set to go. Thanks for watching.